Hi everyone, my name is Maria, and for this video I am going to be discussing about the book Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, which is this book. We've all seen it before. Mine's really torn and just written all over, but I'm going to be discussing about this book, and I am not going to discuss about it in a general way, just talking about it and summarizing it. I'm gonna be kind of putting it into a high school scenario. So I'm gonna fit the characters and the situations into basically a high school of 2014. Um, it's just I feel like we would connect to it more. So I even made an actual seating chart for the characters and where they fell on. Probably you can't see it, so I'm probably gonna insert a photo of it around somewhere around the video. And I have the characters set up in the high school group. So I'm gonna start with Okonkwo because he is the main character. So he would be sitting in the bullies tables. He is a bully. Oh, God, he's hilarious. So, he uses force, and I don't really see that he threatens much. I feel like he's more of aggressive towards his goals, which, I mean, it's always good to thrive for your goals, but he's just so aggressive with it that sometimes he doesn't even know how to deal with it. So that's why I feel like he's so aggressive. He imposes domination over the weaks, which are the tribe in general, like the Igbo tribe. So that's why I put him as in the bullies table. They made a movie about it, not about the book in specific, but they had more of the seating chart as well. It would be probably Mean Girls, and they were saying you can't sit with us. So that's a Kwanko and the other high top guy. So no, you can't sit with us because you can't. You're not at the same level we are. So no. Um, the next table that I have is Unoka. Unoka is Okonkwo's dad. He is he's kind of like a poet, and he's more of a musician, and he likes to talk about just random things that's not very considered manly in the Igbo tribe. He's considered almost feminine. Everyone just shames him. Just shame Unoka. And I feel like in today's study, if he were alive now and he would have been around my age, I feel like he'd probably be the liberal arts student. He'd be more of the poetic guy or the musician that you can have a conversation with, and you can just be friends with it. It doesn't necessarily have to be about music or poetry in general, just about anything. And that's what Okonkwo and his little group didn't like. They didn't relate to any of it. They just liked about violence and control. That's all they talked about. And so Unoka was completely wrong. Just he should not be around us in a way because he'll bring our value levels down. And the other group that I added were the wives, and I feel like they're kind of the average teenagers in a way, because average teenagers nowadays, I feel like we say that we have our own voices, but we're also scared to try new things, and we're just maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. I feel like that's kind of the wives. They have their own voices in a way, the wives, but again they don't, because they would live with Okonkwo and they would put up with his crap because he was the man, and they felt vulnerable, and they felt if they weren't with him they wouldn't be with anyone else, so they would be shamed and unprotected and they wouldn't be safe. So I guess they felt they did it for a sense of security, but if they did have a voice they'd probably spoken out or at least let out their opinions to him, which they didn't in the book. And the other civilians from the Igbo tribe, I feel like they would be the followers in general. The reason why I say this nowadays is because every leader has followers, and in the book, Okonkwo is a leader. He's one of the chosen leaders, and the Igbo tribe, they need someone to tell them what to do or what not to do. They feel like if you have a leader, that you're secure and nothing can happen, nothing wrong can happen, like nothing is wrong. So that's why they kind of follow him in a way, like they don't speak up against him, like they do whatever he says because he's considered a man. And in the Igbo tribe, a man is someone aggressive, that's impulsive, and just negative. And that's how they feel like no one will ever mess with them. So that's kind of like what I have like in the lunch room scenario. And like I said, I'll like put a picture in and just like show you where they would be around seated and stuff. So that's it for the high school part. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about was like race and religion in this book. I feel like race is a big thing in the book. Like when the missionaries came in, they felt superior because they felt like their religion, their European roots were more important and more believable than the Igbo tribes, which are African. So they felt more superior in a way, not necessarily about just the skin color, but more of like we're European, we actually have proof that this stuff happened, not like your gods. Like they made fun of them, like you can believe in a rock. And I feel like nowadays, like the lighter you are, the more accepted you are. I feel like it happens with everyone, like just a scenario. And it's basically like if you put two blacks, like one's lighter than the other, they're gonna get treat each other differently because one they're different and they're gonna get treated each other they're gonna treat each other different. So that's why I put that as an important thing. Like the European version of beautiful is really light, like blonde hair, if not blonde, like really light skin complexion, everything. That's what's beautiful to them. Whereas in on Asian cultures, the lighter you were, the higher socially class you were. So like if you were an emperor or a prince or a princess, you wouldn't really go out in the sun much, so you would be really pale or very fair. As in, if you were a peasant or just the regular worker, you would be really dark because you'd spend most of the day doing everything that the emperor wanted or the leader did. So there's two different ways. Like there's the social class, which is the Asians, which is why I wouldn't say they try to, but they incline into being more of like the pale than tanner. Whereas in the European, like if you're lighter, you're more beautiful and you're more accepted. Like even now in today's society, like people are dyeing their hair blonde to look more beautiful when they can actually embrace their stuff. And I feel like that's kind of like a hierarchy in a way. Like the lighter you are, the higher socially and the more accepted you are. As in if you're darker, you're kind of like the low class, which is I don't think that's right. I feel like nowadays we're more open to it, to like just accepting everyone, but it's still a huge thing. Obviously we don't talk about it in public, but it is something that you notice. It's just noticeable. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was religion. In the story, religion is the whole era. Everything is religion, which is why the missionaries came in the first place. They wanted to take over and well, they wanted to take over and they just wanted to show that their Catholicism in their church and their beliefs are right and everyone else is wrong. And they tried to do it forcefully. I mean, they built a church and they took over this area, which, I mean, was evil to the Igbo people, but I mean, they still took over the land. And they tried to change their minds about their religion. So I feel like nowadays we're not trying to change anyone's religion. I feel like we're more of I can talk to you about anything, but I'm not going to change my religion, and I feel like your religion doesn't connect with mine, so I'm not going to pay attention to it at all. But I'm not going to judge you for it. I feel like we're more open about it, but we're not also like, yeah, let's all be friends type. I don't know. I feel like these are the important parts of the book that I feel like would be put in today's scenario of like 2014. So that's it. Thank you for watching.